Welcome back, everyone.
Hi.
It is March 17th, Sunday, and we're going to talk about emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Something I think everyone can learn a lesson from. We were just kind of laughing that it's always a journey and it's progress forward. You're never just going to be like, well, I'm superior. All of my emotions are in check, and I understand everything in life.
Yeah, and with a dog chasing the car, what are you going to do when you actually are emotionally intelligent? The most surprising fact I learned over this is only 36% of people are actually emotionally intelligent. So that means there's 64%.
So people that are absolutely reactive and
yes, and we talk about respond versus react all the time. This will help you be able to respond versus react if you are emotionally intelligent. And you know who's not emotionally intelligent?
Tell me.
Kenny Pickett, I think.
There's been so many discussions in my house about him this weekend.
Well, perspective-wise, you're the quarterback, the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he goes from the quarterback to the backup, being able to sit behind someone like Russell Wilson, who was a Super Bowl champ and has his odd ways anyways. But you can learn from him, and he says, I don't want to do that, so now he gets shipped out to Philadelphia, where he has no chance of starting. That wasn't a very emotionally intelligent.
It's like I'm sitting right next to my partner's description of this morning. I'm so glad I'm here for it.
Well, at least he's smart.
Did you buy a Pickett jersey?
I never bought a Pickett jersey.
So Eric has one of those. He has nothing to do with.
I guess I wasn't. I more financially intelligent, I guess. I never really. I never got on board with Pickett. I wasn't against him. He hadn't shown me anything to be good or bad. He was just pretty milk toast. So
he was handsome.
He was definitely handsome. He's very handsome. He didn't play in his final bowl game with his guys at Pitt, and that I don't like that very much. I feel like you should stand up for your team and play with your team. He didn't do that, so I don't know. I don't care. I'm excited. Justin Fields, a lot of potential there. I'm excited about this upcoming Steelers season. I know you are too.
Well, let's hope the defense is there for it.
This is above average defense, above average offense, lots of wins. I can't wait. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. All right, well, let's talk about weeks. What did we do this week, Justin?
So my week was nothing super exciting. I wanted to actually apologize a little bit. I kind of mailed in the weaponized incompetence video. I didn't necessarily mail it in. I recorded it 3 times, and I couldn't tell if I was getting too personal, not personal enough. Was I talking circles? So the 4th time I recorded, I literally just read off of my notes off the script, and I mailed it in, and it sucked.
Would you say that you were living
weaponized incompetence? It's horse shit. I don't like it. I'm also going to take these earphones off because I don't like how it's too impersonal with me and you sitting here.
Well, I think that's a good thing to do. You're owning up to something you think you can do better. I think you can deliver better on that.
Yeah, I definitely can. And I think that you and I show glimpses of being really good at this, and then there's times like I know I do it. I just read off of this, or I don't say something I want to say because I don't want to be personal. Like I'm telling you, if one of my friends came up to me and told me I was stupid for doing this, I'd quit right now.
That's not being emotionally intelligent.
I know it's so stupid, but I can't
reel it back in.
But I had a good week. Otherwise, I don't know. Yeah.
Week was awesome at the gym. Was our last week of the CrossFit Open, so. Lots of emotion on this last one. High level gymnastic skills, which are always hard. It takes not only strength, but it takes timing and it takes technique to hit bar muscle ups, chest to bar pull ups, people getting their first pull ups in a row. The feels were there. Everyone was in their feels, really wanting to do their best on this workout, and had to have the conversation with a couple people. Hey, just shake it off, do the best you can, put it on the floor. It's a workout.
Yeah.
If this is the worst part of your day, that you didn't get the score that you wanted, then you still had a pretty good day, right?
Yeah.
And we did that and had an athlete leave. And in the morning, she just quit the workout. She's like, I'm going to come back. I texted her during the day, and I was like, you got this? Come back with a better mindset. Put it all on the floor. Give it all you got. And just do what you can. She came back in and absolutely smashed it.
Good.
And her kids came in, her entire family, her husband brought the kids, and their little baby hands were clapping for her as she was doing pull-ups. It was like the cutest thing I've ever seen. So it was a really great week. And it was dress up as your favorite wrestler.
I saw that. I saw some of you guys dressed up.
I wasn't sure how people would embrace all of these different themes. They've been looking forward to it, like Good. Every week. Like, let's do this. the wrestling one was probably my favorite. So we had a really good week. And now we're just going to carry that same enthusiasm coming into the gym and working on skills that we opened up as weaknesses during the open workouts. So double unders, gymnastic skills, a big one for a lot of people.
You learn a lot about yourself whenever you get, Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good punch in the face. You learn a lot about yourself.
Absolutely. And I think we have some athletes that are probably going to make quarterfinals, myself included. So looking forward to that. I don't know how many quarterfinals I've done so far. Probably this may be my fourth or fifth. It used to be top 90%. I'm in the top 90% so far, but they changed it now that the top 75% make it to quarterfinals. So hopefully we have a few athletes that get to do it, so I don't have to do it alone this year. So looking forward to that.
Good.
All right, let's get into the topic of emotional intelligence. Psychology today describes it as the ability to identify and manage one's own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. It's important to use that information in a way that leads to a positive outcome. And I like that they identify that, because I feel like you can also use emotional intelligence to be manipulative.
Yeah, that's something I kept going over and over and over again. And even in the weaponized incompetence was the people that do this, like narcissists and whatnot, that do this just to control other people. One of the number one things I learned was I can't spell intelligence. I probably wrote it 30 times before I actually figured it out, and now I can't remember whether I did it or not. I always thought emotional intelligence was the ability to articulate the emotions of yourselves in the people around you. So credit to me, I almost had it right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think when you talk, we get into all these different topics of manage your own emotions and understanding the emotions of other people. I think about that to a certain degree, right?
Sure.
You also have to, it's important to have relationships in your life where people communicate to you, and it's not constantly a guessing game, because that's also exhausting to your mental and emotional health, where you're constantly having to make sure somebody else is okay. There has to be like a healthy level of communication where you're not walking into a room with that trauma sense of, am I walking on eggshells? What's wrong? What's happening all the time?
Yeah, and there's got something to be said about face value. Whenever someone tells you something, you don't need to like dive in and dissect and tear apart everything they say and how they say it with tone and inflection, something like that. You got to take it at face level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talk about like the couple pillars that make up emotional intelligence, and one is self-awareness. So consistencies in your moods, your values, and principles. Understanding what is important to you. I talk about this all the time, and one of the most helpful things I've ever done was establish my core values.
Yes.
A lot of times we kind of know what our values are, like we have an idea of them, but when you actually write down 5 values that mean something to you, and you understand like this makes up who I am as a person, you can really flourish from that.
Yes, and there's something to be said about writing it down and not just thinking it, because once it's out on a piece of paper, then it's down forever, and I think that more people should journal, more people should do stuff like that. Self-awareness is a like you said, it's a continuous journey, and you're always evolving. I even said this on our podcast before. When I found out I was bipolar, I described to her 4 symptoms of being bipolar, and when she said them back to me, it was like an epiphany, like a light went off, like, oh yeah, I am. I don't think a lot of people are super self-aware, and that's why it's emotional intelligence tests are really hard to give to somebody, because you're answering questions based on what you think, not what you actually think.
That was one of the things I learned about all of this. No one typically puts themselves down in a negative light, right? You take a test and you're like, oh, I definitely respond completely emotionally correct all the time. I don't ever lash out. But in reality, if you asked someone's partner or you asked someone's best friend, hey, how do they respond in these kind of situations? You might get a completely different answer.
Yeah, and especially if you're taking one of these tests in like a lab setting with a doctor across from you, because of course you maybe not want to impress the doctor, but you definitely don't want the doctor to send their wards in with butterfly nets to carry you out of there. So you
I don't think it's that deep, but
yeah.
But we do have, as humans, this innate need to belong and to be liked. So we typically say things about ourselves to be liked. That
Absolutely.
may be embellishing the truth a little
It's
bit.
pack mentality. You want to be part of the group. You need the group to survive, so you want to impress everybody.
And about your core values, I do think that they change over time. You know, what is important to you in your 20s might not be quite as important to you in your 30s. It might evolve and change.
It should.
So, yeah, they're always going to evolve and grow. So that's just something to think about. Another step to self-awareness is being open and being transparent. Gatekeeping your feelings and also not understanding your own feelings is a huge problem when it comes to understanding yourself and connection. I say it all the time, anything with Brené Brown. Her book, Atlas to the Heart, talks and explains through the different emotions. It's probably one of the best things I've ever done for myself to understand. I am a recovering people pleaser. I could mask any true feelings I had inside just to make sure that everybody else was okay. And then when someone's like, "What are you feeling?" I'm like, "I don't know."
What's the matter?
I don't know. What's wrong? I don't know. When people would ask me that, I would just cry sometimes and be like, I have no idea. I have no idea what is wrong with me right now.
And you're usually such a rock, too. You never cry.
I never cry. But I think that is a good thing, is actually understanding feelings and emotions, because I think a lot of people go through life not knowing, and they sometimes misidentify, sadness with anger or vice versa.
Yeah, sadness and anger are like two sides of the same coin, though.
Well, I think that you really have to dig deep into your wounds to see, what's going on there. And to actually become self-aware, you do have to dig into some old wounds.
For sure.
Willingness to address weaknesses without becoming defensive. This is a hard one. This is one that I struggle with. I know that because I know that my intentions are typically good, that I don't try to hurt people, but I think I am not great at taking criticism. I take it very personally, and it really hurts my feelings when I hurt other people, so I take it very personally.
Yeah, you're terrible at that.
I have a tendency to try to...
See what I did there?
I know what you do. I have a tendency to try to defend myself, when a lot of times people... You don't need to defend yourself. People just want to be heard and say, like, hey, you choosing to do this made me feel this way. And sometimes you just have to be accepting of that. And sometimes you have to just tell people, I'm sorry that made you feel that way.
One time I was playing outfield in a high school baseball game, and a ball came to me, and it was really sunny. And I had my glove up, and I was trying to block the sun, and I biffed. I missed the ball. And then when I was running off the field, all the coach did was try to tell me to use my glove to block the sun out. And I was like, and I swore at him. I was like, I did that. And I think about it 20 years later. Like, why was I so angry at him?
Because you're angry at yourself.
I was angry at myself. Yeah. So sorry, Coach Mo.
And be comfortable in your own skin. Have self-confidence, and I think that is easier than it sounds.
Yeah.
It's something you have to build and you have to work on. And a lot of that is building your relationship with yourself, learning who you are, being around the right people.
100%.
Huge
100%.
difference.
100% of the people, 100% of the time.
If you're not with people that are building you up and helping you level up, if you're always with people that are kind of holding you down and keeping you the same, you're going to have trouble growing.
Yes.
And I like this one too, is like laughing at yourself. Like whenever something goes wrong or you fail, you laugh at it and you move on and you go into the next thing.
Yeah, humility, huge. I like to laugh at myself all the time. Laugh at and with myself all the time.
And self-awareness is a result of maturity in feedback and your willingness to change. If you have no willingness to change, you're not a very self-aware person.
No, and I like this next one too. The best use of our time should be on your strength. Be self-aware. Do not allow consistency of others to affect what you know is a key attribute to your leadership. That is consistency. I think the best use of our time, especially for us procrastinators out there, and people that kind of keep putting things off until it's almost too late. Use that to your strength. That's all.
That, and when you just focus on the negatives and your weaknesses, you end up kind of getting in the slump where you're only focusing on the bad things about yourself instead of using the good things that you do. When you talk about procrastination, it's not great that you wait till the last minute, but your ability to get shit done in a small amount of time to make a deadline is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it's wild because I'm like that too. I'll procrastinate to the end, but then whenever I get there, I'm laser focused and I usually get stuff done. If I'm like painting a room or something where I have plenty of time, the first 3/4 of that room that I have time with it will look nice. It'll look really nice. The last quarter of it looks like shit because I just want to get the job done. But so both of those things can't be true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't do my best work whenever it's like it's something I need to work on. That's all.
I've been procrastinating doing my taxes. But that's something I know I have to do next weekend. It's on.
Well, yeah, before I think the 15th. I don't know if it's the 15th. It might be.
It is.
It is.
Yep.
Okay.
Get ready for it. All right. Next pillar is self-regulation, and that's the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses in your moods. So we're having a conversation and you say something that offends me and I immediately just start screaming. That is dysregulation, and that shows that I'm not in control of my mood.
Yes.
I'm not in control of my own thoughts and my own feelings. And a lot of times, like, we misinterpret people all the time, especially in text message. That's the worst. Or emails. When people email you and you can't see that person, you can't make eye contact with that person, you can easily take things the wrong way.
You can. There's a lot of value in text messaging. I know a lot of serious conversations can sometimes go better in text messaging because you actually have time to sit down and, again, write out your thoughts. And once they're in a phone or on paper, they're there forever. But it's so hard that you don't get the tone inflection or any of that stuff. So text messaging can be a very valuable tool, but don't let it be your only tool as far as communication.
And responding versus reacting, suspending judgment and think before you act. So when you get that text message or you're having that conversation and someone says something that is hurtful, ask questions.
Sure.
And it is so uncomfortable. Like, what did you mean by that?
It is, but if you're in an open relationship where you want that relationship to grow and flourish, a question shouldn't be the end-all be-all. If that is, then you might want to, again, reevaluate that relationship.
And a big one is just like having that self-discipline to not give in to anger or into those irrational thoughts. Mm-hmm. Just taking the time. I always pause before I respond. And there are certain situations I just don't respond at all. If I believe that it is coming from a place to trigger me, to elicit a response from me that would take me out of character, out of how I want to act and be, like, I just don't respond.
That's happened. That happens a lot. And sometimes when you talk to somebody, they literally just respond because they think they should respond, and they don't really have anything of value to say, and it's just like they want to get the last word in. Sometimes just it's best to let those things go.
And coming from a place of trustworthiness and integrity, being true to who you are mm-hmm. and how you respond. So taking that time to pause and regulate.
Yeah.
Bring your heart rate down, evaluate the situation, and then move on. Self-regulation is a very effective tool to having a better relationship and now just honestly be a better person, yeah. I think. I saw on Facebook yesterday, one of our mutual friends, their little boy is in MMA.
All right.
And at meets, his mom had said that he would get very emotional if he lost. He would cry and he would just kind of go all over the place. And she posted about him being able to control his emotions and regulate himself. And I think he's probably maybe 8 to 12, somewhere in that age range. I'm not sure. It's like that, when your friends' kids grow up, like the range of 8 to 12, I have no idea what age, but that's a pretty amazing tool that their coaches are teaching them, which I think you need to know for martial arts. But how cool is that for a mom, putting that out on social media and saying how proud she was of him for being able to regulate his emotions in times where he wasn't winning.
Well, and it's nice too because he cries because he cares.
Yes.
And if you can try to kind of channel that a little bit in how great would it be to be an 8-year-old with the parents or coaches that have a high enough emotional intelligence level? Like, we all want to think that we are emotionally intelligent. Our parents are emotionally intelligent, at least at the time. Like, I feel like the older you get, the more intelligent you get. But when you're a little kid, your parents are just kids too.
Yeah.
Basically. And with only 36% of people being actually emotionally intelligent, the odds in our favor, sorry, Mom and Dad, that they weren't the most emotionally intelligent people at the time anyways. And I think everybody is growing together. My parents were great though. We always had conversations like this sitting around the table to talk about that stuff, but not everybody had that.
I mean, my parents were 16 and 20 when they had us, so
they weren't smart at all. Sorry.
They were emotionally immature. I mean, they were kids.
Holy, 16.
16 and 20.
I'm not even smarter than a 16-year-old yet.
But they were doing the best with what they had from how they were raised, and and it's leading down the pathway, and they're open to conversation about this.
Yeah.
Sometimes my dad comes to me and says, I don't know how to talk to Parker, my nephew.
Yeah.
And he's like, how would you handle this situation? And having conversations with him about how, it's our responsibility as adults to come at in an emotionally regulated way.
Yeah.
And if they forget to hang out with you for the weekend or blow you off for the weekend, talk to them about it instead of making them feel shameful or anger or whatever it is. Hey, whenever I say that I'm coming for you, I really mean it. And I really hope that you are there for me and that you're there when I come to pick you up. So just having those conversations, it's really cool to hear that my parents are receptive to that.
Yes.
And we talk about this at first. When we first started doing this, my mom was like, do you think that we were bad parents? No, I don't. But you were young parents. Yeah. And you were doing the best with what you were taught. My mom grew up in a household that wasn't safe for a lot of the time. Like, she had an alcoholic dad, and they were already in a state of dysregulation all the time. So for as normal as I came out,
yeah,
they did a great job for what they were learning through.
Absolutely. But my mom had 5 kids before she was 30. She turned 30 2 days after I was born. But before I was born, a month before I was born, her dad passed away. And like, you're 8.5 or 8 months pregnant, and you have to deal with the death of your father and also keeping the child inside you safe. That's not exactly a recipe for success,
Yeah, and the 4 other humans.
And the 4
that she had,
and 5, including my dad, because my dad worked. That's what happened when we were kids. He worked a lot. So thanks, Mom and Dad. You guys did great.
So I really like this next part. It's called, it's about leading ourselves before we lead others. The standards that we set for ourselves should be the most important. They should be higher than the standards that anyone else would set for you. Live up to your highest potential. And examples of doing that is like leading yourself. Create an environment of trust and fairness. And be accountable for your actions. Accountability is doing what's right even when no one is looking. It continually speaks to your integrity. Integrity, to me, has become one of my core values. Mm-hmm. At the gym, we talk about it a lot when we're doing wall balls, for example, where you have to hit full depth in your squat and hit above the line on your wall balls. I tell people, I want to see integrity in your reps. If you miss a rep, don't count it and redo it. Have integrity.
Wall balls, for you guys that don't know, typically about a 20-pound ball. You can use for guys, about a 20-pound ball, 11 feet in the air. Throw it up, hit the 11-foot mark, catch it, squat down, throw it up again. I have this tendency to where I like start to lean over the more tired I get, and it's worse and worse. And
does it make it harder?
Yeah.
What do your coaches tell you? Do they tell you not to do that?
Not to do that, but yeah.
And we just went through, we talked about the CrossFit Open. We just had the Open. I make people take the judges course, and we judge with integrity. So if someone gets a no rep, we no rep them.
Yeah.
And we say, no rep. Mm-hmm. And does it suck having to tell people that rep that they just did when they're exhausted doesn't count? Yes. But it tells them that they have to hit this standard. The standard is the standard. This is what we have to hit before you can count that rep.
Go ahead.
And I think, and even when they have standards of where you have to start, like we had to start underneath the pull-up bar this standard before you started the workout. Even though we started at the barbell, you had to start there, walk 5 feet to your barbell, then go. And there are a lot of people in doing the CrossFit Open. I see like I'm in forums with different the women of CrossFit, different affiliate owners, and they're like, well, they're not going to the CrossFit Games, so if they're doing it scaled, it's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal.
Integrity, bitches.
And it messes up the entire leaderboard.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, is they set a standard for you to keep so that athletes have an accurate idea of where they're based with others in their age group, their ability levels, their skill levels, the years of CrossFit. It's a big deal. So, yeah, we lead with integrity there. That's something that's a big one for us.
Can I tell you somewhere I struggle? So this week we were doing 4 sets, 4-minute break in between, but it was when we were on the C2 bike and we were trying to burn as many calories as we could in 4 minutes. So the first time on the C2 bike in the 4 minutes, I burnt 52 calories, and Chase comes over to me. Chase is our other coach. You should check out his podcast too. I'll put the link in. But he's like, what are you doing? You look like you're going for this leisurely stroll today. You're not even trying hard. And I was like, I did it purposely. Like I tried to stay consistent. I tried to stay around a certain marker on the screen on the bike, and I got 52 calories. So the second time I was like, I'll show him. I'm gonna bike hard. 56 calories. I only got 4 more calories. And I have this problem where I feel like in my entire life, if I just go through life in not trying hard, I do good enough. But when I try hard, there isn't a big enough improvement for it to even matter.
But if you had 56 every 4 rounds,
that was the point. I would have had 24 more calories. And at the end of the day, 24 more calories is 24 more. That's like how many wings could I
And
eat?
you should have been biking faster than that, because that's around what I was getting on that. And I'm a little person.
Yeah, but you're so strong. And
that was a little bit of shame right there. I'm sorry. But
you're such a strong,
but that
woman.
is pushing you. Like, I'm glad that he's went over and said that to you, because that was a point of that. It's called the cube test.
Yeah.
And you are supposed to empty the tank in those 4 minutes, use that same amount of recovery time, that 4 minutes of rest, to catch your breath, bring your heart rate back down, regulate yourself.
4 minutes rest is a long time.
It's a long time, and then start again.
Yeah.
So, and talking about leading too is creating an environment of trust and fairness, and how do we make sure we're accountable for our actions. And with that, we talk about, like, in the gym, where I guess I'm kind of the leader at the gym, is, talking to people about, hey, if you're not hitting all the reps, like, what's going on? Are you miscounting? Do you need a board? Or are you half-assing the movements?
Yeah.
What can we do to make it better? How can we understand leading with integrity? And accountability. I like this a lot. Your inner circle keeps you grounded with your values and who you're meant to be. Has more authority to hold you to your values than you give to yourself. And your outer circle of people that are put into your life to stretch you beyond your comfort zone. They are challenging you to do something you may not have done if you didn't allow someone to push you. And I think about, like, and I always kind of relate this to, like, gym, right? Because this is my life and this is what I do for a living. So, like, your inner circle being your best friends and your family. And I think the gym is a lot like a family too, but doesn't that really describe that outer circle of people pushing you outside of your comfort zone? Yes. And pushing you to do things that you didn't think you were able to do. I think that was a really great description of that. So
yeah, and thank you to Heather Link too. She was in our Rotary video a couple weeks ago. She helped us do the research on this, and she definitely had some influence on me and how we record. She's going to help us do some recordings moving forward. But to be a little bit more uncomfortable sometimes, and like she's kind of helped me with that this week, to be able to teach me that I should be uncomfortable whenever I'm doing this stuff.
Absolutely. And it is uncomfortable to talk about yourself, to talk about your weaknesses. And while we're talking about that, let's talk about motivation.
Ooh, I like it.
Passion of work for reasons to go beyond money or status, or propensity to pursue goals with energy and persistence. And I think about motivation, and I think so many people motivate their success, or they link their motivation to just money. And Absolutely. They link success to just what they make for a living and what they make monetarily, or the status they hold in their community, whatever. And I think you're leading for all the wrong reasons.
100%. My first 30 years of my life, 35 years of my life, it was all monetarily driven. It's like you had to have money to be able to do anything. And then, mid to late 30s, I decided to go against that. And I'm happier now than I've been in since I was a kid. And everything we do at this gym, we don't make a dime doing it. It costs us money to do this stuff. It does. It costs us money to do this stuff, but the reward we get back is so much bigger. And I want to be able to build a good product and then try to monetize it later. But I'm just happier now than what I've ever been, and it was until I stopped chasing money that actually happened. I'm broker than I've ever been, but whatever. That's not true. Actually, I was really broke as a kid.
I think I started linking my motivation to impact. How many people can we impact? I see so many people out there that are struggling with mental health. They're struggling with physical health. They're struggling with, nutrition deficiencies. And these are all, I have the tools to help people.
Yeah.
I have the tools to help them feel better, to move better, to eat better. And I want to spread that as far as possible. And there are days that, you get down on yourself. You're like, man, I'm never going to get ahead. But then all those little pings, I always call them the pings from the universe, where those days that I feel like I'm not moving forward, I'll get a message and be like, you changed my life. You helped me become a coach. You did this, you did this, you did this. And they're the pings that's like, stay in your path.
Yeah.
Keep leading, and eventually the things that you want to come are going to come. I mean, my gym doubled itself this year despite another gym opening across town. Because I've stayed authentic to what I do, to who I am. I don't compare myself to what they're doing, and we do what we do.
And I started coming, so I've obviously driven a lot of
clearly. Yes. When you come to the gym.
Yes, that's fair.
So examples of motivation are a strong drive to achieve, and you're optimistic even in the face of failure. I cannot tell you how many times I've tried something and it's failed miserably.
It is not easy to stay optimistic when you fail all the time.
I mean, we've tried different classes. We've tried different times for classes that you don't know until you try. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. Yeah. That's just one of those things. It just takes time, and you scrape yourself up and you do it again. So in failure, you just have to get back up and go after what you're looking for.
And in the sales world, you fail more than you succeed. So you just have to get that tough skin and be able to keep moving forward.
Yes. An organizational commitment, committing to making whatever they're working on do well. For me, I put in countless hours in the past 2 years on just growing my business. And, I'm slowly phasing out of my other job, and I am tired. I'm putting a lot of hours in, but I'm seeing the fruits of my labor in
all aspects of your life.
All aspects, absolutely. And it's right in front of your face, and other people are seeing it too, having other people commenting on my growth this year, hey, you've grown so much, even personally. And that's a really cool thing to hear, because I don't know that I would be in this spot had we not started doing this. And our motivation to do this well has also came into my life and into the gym.
Well, we started, you said about self-awareness. Not only are we more self-aware now, but we started practicing it. And once we started practicing it, that's when things got better. So
absolutely. And our personal drive to improve and achieve, commitment to our goals, our initiative, our readiness to act on opportunities, and resilience.
Resilience.
I always laugh about the word resilience because it means you've been through some shit. You've been knocked down. Life has kicked you down multiple times, but you don't stay down.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about when you and I were the keynote speakers at Purchase Line for their SAD group, and you talked about bipolar, I talked about eating disorder, and it was really hard to be vulnerable in front of teenagers because teenagers can be the meanest people on the planet. It was super awkward.
Yeah.
But it felt so good to go up there and talk on the stage about that. And that really showed like our commitment to reaching people and talking about what we were doing. And we were there with our old high school principal.
Yes.
And he had said when he was applying for a job, I always think of Mr. Rainey when this topic comes up of resilience. He said, I might not be the smartest guy in the room, but I'll be the most hardworking person you'll ever meet. Mm-hmm. And I think that speaks volumes about who he is as a person. And I always think about that when I say that I'm hardworking, because I always remember him saying that. And I was like, I am usually the hardest working person in the room because I just won't back down. And I think that really speaks on people's resilience, is to stand up and to just keep going even when the cards are against you.
Well, and it was nice too when we were done presenting, the amount of kids that came up to us and just said thanks and sorry you guys had to go through this, or I feel the same way, and it added a little validation to what we did too.
How scary was it though to stand up there in front of all those kids and you're like, are they laughing at me? They're laughing right now. That's definitely
yeah.
And you have to like shut those thoughts down the whole time that you're speaking and continue your conversation and your speech while having this fear that people are making fun of you.
Yeah, there was one group that really seemed to be engaged, so I talked to them the most time. But I made a joke about how we used to walk the halls back in the 1900s, and not one laughed. And then I think it was Mr. Rainey go, ha! And I was like, yeah, nailed it. Got it, baby.
And so talking about motivation, intrinsic is motivation that comes from within and it fuels you. Mm-hmm. And extrinsic is when you're encouraged by external factors to achieve your goals. All right. It's important to get to know what does motivate you and not to make unreasonable demands. So
yes.
If I made a plea to myself that I was going to make $1 million by next year, I would probably be very disappointed. So having realistic goals and the right kind of motivation. Let's talk about empathy.
Empathy. Mm-hmm. All right. The ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people. Empathy is a critical skill. I think empathy is one of maybe the top 2-3 skills you could learn in the world. And
it can be learned.
Yes, absolutely can be learned. That's a good point by me.
Some people are just naturally empathetic, though. Like strangers come up to me in the grocery store and tell me their life story. It always happens, and I don't know if it's my face, but people trust me to tell me their stories. And I remember my mom having the same thing happen to her. Mm-hmm. When we would go to the grocery store, we go anywhere, my mom would stand there and talk for like 3 hours in the middle of the grocery store aisle and give me anxiety because everyone's annoyed and having to go around us, you know?
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
Oh, absolutely. I get in trouble all the time when we're in Walmart because of people stopping to talk to me, and we just need to get in and out. But what I don't understand, like, did you ever shop with a woman in Walmart? They have like no self-awareness at all. You got to like kick down people and move them out of their way, and they just keep walking with no intent. I'll be quiet.
I think you probably should, yeah. I do
like
not
a
have
Sherpa
that.
guiding through the jungle.
I don't need that.
There's no awareness.
A laser sharp focus on the things I need at Walmart because I hate it so much.
And you got to have somebody like move people out of the way and like traffic. Yeah, that's.
Do you see these shoulders? Like they move.
I've never had the confidence of a woman shopping in Walmart.
So examples of empathy: a skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions. How people handle situations, being empathetic to their needs. Awareness of the needs and feelings of others, both individually and in groups.
Yes.
Being able to see things from the point of view of others. Not something everyone is great at.
No, not at all.
Especially when it comes to spouses. I think people really lack empathy in situations where they're the closest to someone.
I think there's something to be said about that, though. We say the meanest things to the people we're closest to because they have to forgive us.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't agree with that at all.
No, I'm not saying it's right. But I think that's what sometimes people do. The mean things that kids say to their parents or spouses say to each other, for whatever reason, when spouses are in fights at some points in their life, they always say the meanest thing to get the worst reaction out of it. But it's like, it's such a terrible way to move forward.
See, I think that happens in times where you don't know self-regulation.
Okay.
And that you also lack the ability to be empathetic and to see something, so defensiveness is coming out. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree with that. A lot of time it is defensive. It's like, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you.
Because as an adult now that I've done this kind of work, like, I don't say things like mean things to people to get a reaction. Like, that's not how I operate.
Yeah.
At one point in my life, it was, especially when I was younger and I wasn't regulated enough and I didn't understand. I took everything personally. Mm-hmm. That's a big one, I think, too, is we take everything so personal to the point that, like, if someone criticizes you, they must think you're a terrible human being and that you should probably just fall off the face of the earth.
Yes.
You take that personally, and then you take that hurt and you then push it onto them and project it onto them. And with teenagers, I think it's just because they don't know how to regulate. They just don't know how to regulate yet. And they'll say awful things. And I remember, I specifically remember, sorry, Mom, her and I getting in an argument because I wanted to do something. And I said, why are you being such a... And she's like, say it. And I was like, nope, no, I won't, ma'am. I will not say it. And she would have went across that island and took me out.
Oh, my God. Never one time have I called my mom that. Not once, even close.
Yes. Well, you shouldn't. And I almost did. And I was fearful of my life.
I'm glad you're still here.
Still a little fearful of my life from even thinking that word. So learn to listen effectively to both the verbal and non-verbal messages of others. But I want to go back to this when I say... It is not your responsibility to constantly figure out what other people are thinking and feeling.
Sure.
Walking into, like, you shouldn't have to walk on eggshells in a healthy relationship to know what other people are thinking and feeling. So, yes, it's good to be on cue if you walk in and your spouse is sitting on the couch with their head down to be like, hey, are you all right? Did something bad happen today? But when every day it's a guessing game to figure out what the hell is going on with someone else, there needs to be some work on communication. So I think empathy can be abused.
Empathy definitely can be abused. All the stuff we teach can be abused. That's what's the tough part about it, is because you want to be in a relationship with somebody, but that is good and whole, but whenever they do this stuff just to manipulate you because you're a people pleaser or they found your weaknesses and they just want to get something out of you, that's what. We talk about romantic relationships, but that's what happens in the workplace all the time.
Yeah.
The workplace is one of the worst places to be manipulated. And like bosses and management and leadership, they do have an obligation to get the best out of you, but at what cost? That's why we have to be a little more cognizant of how we are in our work relationships and where we work.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And acknowledge and respect the feelings of others, even if you disagree. So... that is also important, because you can agree to disagree on things and there's no right or wrong.
No.
I think for a lot of people, they think it's black and white. Well, you're telling me that my feelings are wrong. It's like, no, I just don't agree with them. I can understand coming from your perspective and why you feel this way, but I just don't agree with you, and that's okay too.
And that's healthy. Like that, you should have disagreements, and you should be able to have conversations like this. And I just don't think that a lot of people understand that whenever it comes to their relationships. They think if they're going to fight about something, then it's for some people this is like this is the end. And once you get mature and more healthy relationships, you realize that you can argue and be wrong and still be able to go to sleep at night beside that person.
And another thing I want to point out too is when you're empathetic, you always kind of want to help people through stuff.
People pleasing.
And it's part of the people pleasing. It's something I had to create boundaries with, because it is not my job to fix everybody that is suffering. It is not my job to help everybody. There are people out there that don't want help. So I have to have that boundary of knowing when it's okay to assist and when I know that it's draining me, that I need to step back.
Yeah.
And that was something I struggled with for a long time, is draining myself to help other people. And when you're drained, like, you're not useful to anybody, even to yourself, when you're operating from that space.
Even when people want to be helped, they sometimes just don't take it. I had a young man message me this week, and he said, "Do you think I should go to college?" And I just said to him, I was like, "Bud, you're 21 years old and you haven't even got your GED yet. Like, no, I'm not trying to be a jerk. If you want to go to college, but you need to take care of this stuff that's in front of you." And no matter how many times this young man has come to us for help, and no matter what we've told him, he literally just doesn't do anything. He just lives, and it's such a tough thing too, because I don't know what that is. I don't know where to go from here. And I feel so bad telling this young man, "No, I don't think you should go to college," but I don't want to lead him down the wrong path, and he doesn't listen to what we say anyways.
I think it's from a place of learned helplessness.
Yeah.
And, again, we can only help to our ability. And it takes personal action to get this, what motivates you. We talked about that, finding the things that motivate you. You have to get the one step complete before you can go to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's just part of reality.
We got the young man, like 3 different jobs. None of them have worked out. Like, at some point you have to know, and I would never cut ties with him because of the relationship that we have, but at some point you gotta be honest. You gotta have a little honest Friday with somebody.
Absolutely. And I think that's the best thing we can do for people, is to be honest with them. Just telling
clear
people
as con, according to Brene Brown.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the last thing we're going to talk about are social skills. To socially be able to network, find rapport with people and common ground, and relate well with others. What are some examples of that? You're rooted in self-esteem and personal confidence. And again, this is something you practice. I practice being confident. And I'm not even joking to you. I have affirmations that I say to myself. I force myself to lift my chin when I walk into a room and look like I belong there.
Okay.
Even if the inside of me is screaming, "I hate this, I don't belong here, why am I here?" I will put my chin up and I will put my shoulders back and I will walk into a room with my head up and eyes forward. Because for so long I have made myself small and wanted to be not seen, that all that ever did was keep me in this low vibration. So it's something that I actually practice, is confidence.
And look how well you've been doing this last year. You said, I think last week, you want to practice taking up space. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something you've been doing good at.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it is uncomfortable. And I feel like sometimes you feel like you're a braggart, but like, you're working hard and you're smashing some glass ceilings. Like, celebrate that shit.
Yeah,
Celebrate
why not?
it.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of yourself to behave consistently. Again, coming back to knowing your core values and live them. Do what you preach. So if you're telling people to live with integrity, live with that in your personal life. Be authentic to who you are. You shouldn't have 5 masks where you go into one friend group, you're this person, one friend group, you're this person, work, you're this person. You should be a steady person throughout all of life. Yes, you might act a little bit more professional at work.
It's called assimilation. You would talk to your friends different than you would talk to your mom or your boss or something like that.
But you're authentic to who you are.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Having self-control. So regulate your emotions and your feelings even during those hard conversations. Mm-hmm. That is a good social skill to have. Social awareness.
Awareness, again.
Appropriate conversation in the environment that you're in.
Yes.
You would talk to your bosses a little bit differently than you would to your friends at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, having that social awareness, but still being true to who you are. And relationship management. So how you build and how you work on your relationships in your life. Be that your partnership, be that your friendships, your family relationships. How do you manage them? How do you treat the people in your family and in your circle?
All right, final thoughts?
I really, really, really like this. Heather did a great job with research, and I think emotional intelligence is such a key factor in living a peaceful life.
Yes.
Just living a peaceful life where the smallest things don't set you off. Hard conversations don't ruin your day. And being put in uncomfortable situations, you can learn how to manage your way through them. I think it's so important to work on and develop your emotional intelligence, and I think it's something that everyone should really shoot for.
And I think it's something you should honestly self-evaluate too, because this is the third time I'm going to say this, but 36% of people are emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm. So that means that if there's two of you listening to this right now, one of you probably isn't.
Yeah.
But also take into account that you're following us, and if you're following us, you're obviously probably one of the smartest people in the room. So thank you for that.
Clearly.
But with that being said, you're taking time out of your day to watch a video on emotional intelligence. That shows a little bit of intelligence there. Then you're putting the effort towards getting smarter. But don't take this stuff and use it to manipulate other people. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, and it can all be manipulated where your feelings aren't more important than everyone else's feelings, because that's how manipulation starts, where you're blowing out someone else's flame to make yours brighter.
Yeah, don't blow out someone else's flame.
That's right. Never lose your flames.
That's right.
Green Fire CrossFit.
All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love you. Bye.
Love you guys. Go outside.